All right, welcome back to the Vendetta Sports Hockey Show. We have a new guest today here, Ryan Schwager. Andrew McGuinness and Gavin Daly are back. So I sent over a list of topics. I think we're just going to do a elongated version of on or off sides, and we'll see how it goes for this week.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
All right. So
also, this is my second appearance on the show and the second time that the Flyers are playing during the show. So if I'm distracted.
Yes. Yes,
That's
and
why.
the Avalanche will be starting up here soon, so should be interesting.
Yeah.
Gavin's in a button-up. Interesting.
I literally just walked in the door from work. I got
like that.
5 minutes ago.
You look good.
So this is the way I have to dress at work.
Like that.
They don't allow hockey jerseys.
Okay. All right. Brandon Lemieux, he got suspended 5 games for biting Brady Tkachuk. Do we think 5 games, fair suspension for Brady, or for Lemieux, sorry. Ryan, what's your take here? On or off sides?
On sides. I think anything less would be really concerning. I know that Tkachuk went kind of apeshit, and I think he had every right to. So not really much else I have to say about it. It's really stupid that is happening in the NHL.
Andrew, you seem like a biter.
A biter? Is that even a personality type?
I don't know.
I mean, honestly, I think Lemieux is lucky that he didn't get more, because if you look at the replay when Tkachuk gets up from the scrum, he's showing the referee his right hand, and his right hand is bleeding. But there was no video that showed him Lemieux biting his right hand, only his left hand. So if there was an angle that could have shown him also biting a second time, then he could have gotten even more games. Actually, I was reading 30 Thoughts earlier today, and Elliot said that's the longest suspension for biting prior to this, 3 games. I think that was from a couple of decades ago, too. If there had been more than a 6-game suspension, Lemieux would have been able to appeal to an independent arbitrator, and it probably would have gotten reduced. So I think 5 games is probably the happy medium. And what is
Gavin, I'm sure you'd like to go around biting people, right?
I'd like to go around punching a few people. I agree totally with Andrew. I think if you can prove that he did it, and from every camera angle I've seen so far, you can't, I think he gets more, because as Andrew said, if it goes to that 6th game, he can appeal it. And if the independent arbitrator can't see Lemieux literally biting Tkachuk, then they're not going to uphold it. So I think the NHL basically gave him the biggest suspension they could. Fair. Without it getting dragged into legalities.
Courtney, I don't know the StreamYard capabilities of this, but Jordan Binnington basically scored on himself, if there's a way we can show that. If not, it's okay. Andrew, we'll start with you. On or off sides, this is the worst play by a goalie all year. Jordan Binnington letting in that goal.
There's a lot of bad luck involved in this play, because it's just a dump in off the stanchion, right off face-off from a goal being scored just before that, actually, by the Lightning. I mean, we usually see 1 or 2 of those stanchion goals a year, where a puck hits the stanchion off a dump in. Usually the goal is behind the net, though, when it goes in, not actually still in the net. So he at least did the positioning part right. But yeah, that was a tough break. Although maybe he was thinking long-range game to fire up his teammates, because the Blues, of course, came back from 3-0 down in that game. They won in the shootout, so I guess it worked out for him.
Gavin, you're a big Jordan Binnington fan.
Oh,
so yeah. I'm sure you will gladly defend him.
No. I take everything Andrew said. It's a freak accident, but if it's going to happen to anyone, you want it to happen to Binnington. I took great pleasure in watching that again and again and again last night, just because it's Jordan Binnington.
He's your favorite goalie in the league.
Yeah, he's an absolute muppet.
Ryan, any thoughts on the goal Binnington allowed last night?
It was ugly, but like Andrew said, there are a few of those that happen every single year. So I know he had.
There we go.
He's been having he had a really down month in November, but the all important thing is that they ended up coming back and winning against a good
Yeah.
team in Tampa. So
As soon as they traded him, he started sucking. It's great. Go ahead, Courtney.
To change, and this is right off the face-off, and it's a weird bounce that comes off of the side, and it just I mean, couldn't do that if you tried. So that's certainly, look at Binnington looking behind the net, expecting it to rim around to change, and this is right off the face-off, and it's
Thank
a
you,
weird
Courtney.
bounce that comes.
All right.
It's on the inside of his pad too, if you watch it closely.
Unbelievable. All right. Next topic. I wrote a post in this last week or maybe a few days ago. I forget. Darcy Kempfer. Things are not going very well. He allowed 5 goals to the Ottawa Senators, and they are not very good. His goals allowed and save percentage is not horrible, but all the underlying numbers are not so good. So, Gavin, we'll start with you here as the resident Avs fan. On or off sides, it is officially time to worry about Darcy Kempfer.
Onside. And the reason why I say that now is because you've got Francouz coming back. What are you going to do with Jonas Johansson? He's been your best goaltender. Yes, he's only started 3 games, but he's still been your best goaltender. So are you going to put him through waivers and take the chance of him being picked up to keep Francouz? And I know they've already made this decision, but keep Francouz on the team. Now, what they're going to do is they're going to send Francouz down on a conditioning stint long term, but now you're hindering Justus Annanen's development. You don't want to bring Justus Annanen up to the first team at all, unless you literally know you're not going to play him. He's going to sit in the bench and he's going to get a feel for it. That's the only reason you bring him up at any point. But the Avalanche are in a situation now where they don't know what Francouz can give them yet because he hasn't played. They know Johansson can be a serviceable backup, and they know that right now Darcy Kempfer is struggling big time. In his first 6 games of the season, he posted a .888 save percentage. Everyone thought he'd turn the corner in the next 5, where he posted a .945 percentage. The last 3 games, because I'm not including the Ducks, I refuse to include the Ducks game.
Well, he came in halfway through the game or something, right?
No, he basically faced 6 shots before he was taken out because of skate.
Yeah.
In those last 3 games, minus the Ducks game, he's posted a .836 save percentage. That's beyond worrying.
Ryan, you're an Arizona guy. Trade looks pretty good for the Coyotes, not?
I think so. They it's weird to put this because the Avalanche are not playing bad anymore. Yeah, they got off to a slow start to the season, but Kemper hasn't been playing all that well, but the offense has been has come alive. So I don't think there's a true need to panic. We're 20 games in. You've seen how good he was in Arizona. And they stink. So I don't think there's a whole lot to worry about yet. But if this continues for another, I give it another 20. If he is bad for another 20, then yeah, there's definitely reason for concern.
Andrew, you're usually the voice of reason here. What do you think? Although it is interesting that Philip Grubauer has kind of fallen off the map here since he's left Colorado. So if anything, Kemper should be helped by this situation.
Yeah, to your point, Trey, Darcy Kempfer has allowed the 14th most goals saved above expected at -3.7. Philip Grubauer is the worst at -12.7, which is almost 3 ahead of Carter Hutton for second worst.
Yeah.
This is a trade I never really liked for Colorado, and it had to do in part with losing Grubauer. And obviously, yeah, he struggled with Seattle. I mean, if he was still in Colorado, I don't think he'd be playing this poorly. And I think he's going to turn it around in Seattle because he's not that bad as a goaltender as he's shown for them so far, as the Flyers get scored on by the Rangers power play.
No. Come on, Carter.
Trouba took a shot. Might have been deflected. I mean, Colorado's such a good team that if Kemper can just be a solid goaltender, you figure they're going to be okay. And I don't feel like that's that high of a bar to clear. But at the same point, Colorado's betting on this guy in a season where they are cup contenders, and you only get so many cracks at this when you have a team as talented as Colorado, where the cap comes for you and all that stuff. So I'm not in full-on panic mode yet if I'm talking about Kemper and the Avs, but my eyebrow is definitely raised a little bit.
Fair.
Here's the thing. You look at last year's playoffs, and the Avs needed Grubauer to steal a game, which he did. You're going to need Kemper to if you think about it, if you're saying the Avs make it to the Western Conference Final, the two teams who you would think they're going to be up against are either Vegas or Edmonton. You're going to need Kemper.
Well, are we sure?
Calgary.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Are we sure Calgary can't be in the mix?
No. I wouldn't be scared of Calgary. I'll be honest with you. Even with Kemper and that, I wouldn't be scared of Calgary.
Okay.
But
hey, that was my dark horse
Oilers?
team. I deserve a little credit for that, by the way.
Sure. Vegas and Oilers, I'm not convinced Kemper can steal us games against those two teams. And that's my worry.
Do we see a trade coming here?
Again, I'm not in full on panic mode, but you've got to be thinking, if you're Joe Sakic, you've got to be thinking that long term. You've got to be thinking, okay, we're meeting one of these two powerhouses in the Western Conference Finals, more than likely. Nothing's ever set in stone, especially when you're the Edmonton Oilers. But if you're meeting one of them two teams, is Kemper good enough? And I don't think he is. And that's why you don't panic right now, but you've got to start thinking about other options. You've got to see what Francouz can give you, and you've got to see what's out there in the market that you can possibly do.
Do we think a trade's possible?
Well, here's the thing. I honestly think Colorado felt they were going to get Grubauer back with less money. Because if you know you're not going to get Grubauer back, why wouldn't you go in for Ned from Carolina?
They went in for Freddie Anderson. He turned them down.
I think Freddie Anderson was going to be used as a backup. I do. I don't think Freddie Anderson was going to be taking Grubauer's spot. And I think what happened was Grubauer then, and I think that may be one of the reasons why Freddie Anderson didn't take the Colorado position, is because, hey, you're going to be splitting games. I don't want to split games. I want to play.
Well, he's playing.
All of a sudden, Grubauer is gone. And yes, to a certain extent, you panic. And you gave up far too much for Kemper. Far too much.
Okay. All right, moving on. Tony DeAngelo. This man is on fire. He has scored more points than any other offseason acquisition in the league. Of all defensemen, he is second in points. All defensemen. Is it officially time to say Tony DeAngelo, he's back? Andrew.
I mean, the whole thing about Tony DeAngelo is never him not being a good hockey player. The thing was about him being a total terrible piece of human being.
But he is a Jersey guy, so.
So what? What are you trying to say?
I don't know.
There's nothing wrong with
he's
Jersey
from
guys.
New Jersey, so it's not like he's. No, I'm from Jersey. It's not.
That's why I said it.
Anywhere really close to me. Yeah, he's from like Sewell, which is in North Jersey. I'm not from near there. I'm at least like an hour away. I mean, he's certainly playing much better. He's playing like he was in the Rangers days when he was on their PP1 and putting up all kinds of points and stuff like that. I mean, he's definitely played very well for them. I mean, the whole thing is though, is he going to be able to keep his head cool off the ice for the whole season? And so far, he's done that. We'll see if he can keep doing it for the rest of the year. Ryan,
you're a Devils fan. Dougie Hamilton, he left Carolina, is a New Jersey Devil, but it seems like Tony DeAngelo's kind of been a steal. What's your kind of thoughts on the situation?
I know I play in a few fantasy leagues, and everyone that drafted him like around pick number 200 is loving him this year. And I was actually shocked to see how much they struggled. The Hurricanes struggled without DeAngelo in there.
Oh, they looked lost against Dallas last night.
And he's not known for a very good defensive guy, but what he brings on offense, like Andrew said, it's never been a question about if he was a good hockey player. It's always about off the ice stuff. I think him playing for Brind'Amour is perfect because I think he's just going to shut up and fly underneath the radar and just do what he's told. Whereas in New York, there's so many personalities there that it takes one guy to act up, and then there's just going to be a whole storm. So I think he's he's been awesome. Honestly, it's been a great pickup.
Gavin, any thoughts there?
Pretty much just what the two guys said. I don't think there's ever been any doubt that D'Angelo can be a good player. It's always been about the fact that he's a piece of shit. And, you know, at the end of the day, like, you can say off-ice stuff shouldn't matter, but as everyone knows, no matter what sport you're in, off-ice stuff matters.
Okay, Ryan, we'll go back to you. Jack Hughes got a big contract extension. $8 million a year, I believe, over 8 years. Pretty hefty check there for Jack Hughes. On or off sides, he deserves this contract extension.
I think he does because of, well, I don't think he actually does based on his play through the first 2+ years. But the underlying numbers have been really, really good. He's one of the best in the league at carrying the puck into the zone. He was all over the ice in the first 2 games before he got hurt with takeaways. But like the Heischer deal that they gave out last year, the Devils are paying Hughes for what he will become and not what he's been so far. They're banking on him to become a superstar in the NHL, which he has all the potential to be, being the number 1 pick. So he runs the power play. He makes that. Oh, my phone goes off. That's interesting. He makes a power play run, and the Devils are one of the worst power play teams. So getting him back is so huge. But I think in 4 years we're going to be saying, okay, well, that's a steal for what they got him at.
Andrew?
Yeah, if you're going to say based on his current production, does Jack Hughes deserve this contract? I mean, I would probably say no, just based on what he's done so far. But if you ask me,
hey, he's got a 40% shooting percentage this year so far.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's sustainable right there.
Yeah.
But is he going to grow into a player who's more than worth that cap hit? I would say probably. I mean, he's a tremendous talent. He took a step forward last year, I thought. He's getting bigger and stronger. I mean, his rookie year, he definitely looked overmatched physically, and that hasn't been nearly as big an issue for him the last season. And I know he's only played a couple games this year, but he's looked better in that regard too. I mean, he's an incredibly talented player. Like Brian talked about, he's incredibly gifted with the puck and with zone entries and all that stuff. He's going to be a key piece of the Devils' future for years to come. And I think $8 million for a center of his caliber, especially when the cap starts going back up. And you got to remember that deal doesn't kick in until next year as well. So I think that's a good contract for the New Jersey Devils and Jack Hughes.
Gavin, I know you like Quinn Hughes, so I'm sure you're a fan of Jack Hughes.
I mean, it's a lot to pay, but as the guys have said, they're paying him for future. They're not paying him for now, you know, and it doesn't start until beginning of next season anyway. I would go and say that most people when they sign a contract, depending on the age, you look at it and kind of go, ooh, the last couple of years of that are going to be rough. With Jack Hughes, I would turn around and say the first couple of years of that are going to be rough, unless he has a breakout year. But I think he's a 1C, maybe 2C definitely. And I think they're paying him now for, as Andrew said, looking forward and looking at the cap hit going up and how this is going to affect them. And 3-4 years down the line, you may look at this and go, this is a fantastic contract. Or depending on how things go, because not all these things work out, you may look at it and go, wow, that was really, really bad.
I believe it's the same AAV as Zibanejad, correct?
And we all know how much you love him.
I can't stand him. Speaking of the Rangers, real quick, I did this post today. Capo Caco, he actually will be a restricted free agent at the end of this year. Jack Hughes got paid. What the hell do the Rangers do with Caco? Okay.
Silence.
I have no clue.
You've got to figure out something, because he's got everything in his tool belt that you need.
He looks lost a lot.
Yes. I think what you got to do is you got to find a line. You got to get him on a line with someone where he actually has chemistry.
I believe he's on the first line right now.
In the games I've seen, I haven't seen a chemistry yet. And the Rangers because of the luck they've had over the last couple of years, are stacked right now. Going like when you look at future prospects, and you may look at it and go, he may get lost in the shuffle. He may be one of these redemption projects in about 3 or 4 years.
And a year from now, you got to pay Lafreniere. You got to worry about him a year from now.
And then you also got Panarin. I don't know when Panarin's contract's up, but you got him too.
Not for a while. Panarin's under contract for a while.
He already makes a lot.
Yeah, this is four more years, I think, after this one. Because this is his 3rd year in New York, and it was a 7-year deal.
So, all right. I don't know what that has to do with the show. So keeping things moving. Gavin, we'll go back to you. Daniel Vladar. He is the Calgary Flames goalie, since you love goalies. He's on fire. Mm-hmm. He is 4-0-1 on the year, 2 shutouts, 157 goals against average, 946 save percentage. I was screaming from the clouds this last year. Go with Swayman, go with Vladar. See how the young guys do it. They decided to pay Linus Ullmark, and he's been kind of hit and miss. Gavin, on or off sides, Bruins, big mistake letting Vladar go.
Offside, I'm going to say. Here's the thing. It's kind of a bit of both, because Vladar's in a perfect situation right now where he's playing backup to Markstrom. He's not expected to play every night. He hasn't got that.
2-0 Rangers. Are you serious?
The Flyers just got dunked on by Dryden Hunt.
Oh my God.
Also,
what is going on?
Joel Farabee is going down the tunnel with an injury.
This is unbelievable.
Well, yeah, Vladar. He's not in a position in Calgary where he's expected to be that number one. So the weight's not on his shoulders. He can come in, he can play his game, and he can definitely raise his stock. But if you're asking me, would he have been the number one at Boston? I don't think so.
Gavin or Andrew looks very depressed, so we'll go to him to try to take his mind off of things. You've been a Linus Ullmark defender, but
I liked Ullmark in Buffalo. I hasn't been off to the best start in Boston. I mean, 5 games is such an incredibly small sample size. I mean, you always hate to give up on a young goaltender like Vladar.
Only for a 3rd round pick, too.
I do think it would have been insanely risky for Boston to go into the year. One of the last years where you have Bergeron and Marchand at elite status, assuming Father Time ever decides to check up on those guys. I do think it would have been pretty risky to go with those 2 guys, 2 young, unproven goaltenders like that, with Marchand and Bergeron, where they are age-wise, and Pasternak's, steal of a contract coming up in a couple of years. But I mean, obviously, Vladar's been great in Calgary, and part of that is Calgary's defense. Of course, they have such a great system, and Daryl Sutter's done wonders for that team. I don't think it's, we talk about like mistakes and all that. Sometimes teams make stupid decisions. Other times teams make smart decisions, and they just don't seem to pan out for them in the right way. And I don't know if this was, I don't want to say it was necessarily the smartest thing to trade Dan Vladar, but I don't think it was a dumb decision either. And if he turns out to be amazing, that's not necessarily Boston's fault. And I don't know if Don Sweeney should be held against that. I know, Trey, in your description of that article, you said it's hard to trust anything Don Sweeney does.
I don't like him.
Yeah, that Taylor Hall trade really set them back.
He passed on Matt Barzal 3 times. So
yeah, that was 6 years ago. You said lately.
Fair. Well, Jake Debrusk is one of those guys, and he requested a trade. And
I was going to say we're going to talk about him next, because
I can't look at Jake Debrusk. He just Ryan, anything to add on Vladar?
I actually think that the Bruins letting Tuukka go was probably the biggest mistake. With the core that they have in place, I think having a stable backstop back there, someone that has been there for a while, what you're going to get at Tuukka Rask.
He is skating right now, kind of, practicing.
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember that Rask wouldn't be playing right now.
He's not healthy.
He's still with the Bruins, and he's still hurt.
Yeah, okay, that is true. But it's just, Vladar wouldn't have been a starter, like Gavin said. He would have been splitting time right now with Swayman. So,
well, I mean, that's what he's doing in Calgary. I mean, he's not starting over Markstrom. It's been phenomenal.
Well, Markstrom's just been the best goalie in the league so far. So,
yeah.
Best goalie in the league?
So. I mean, yeah. I would say so. The numbers that he's putting up right now. I mean, let's let's look at it. He
goals
he's
saved above
9-4-4.
expected. He is 6th in the league.
I like to hear that from my
175
fantasy
goals
team.
against. I don't know. I think that Boston did probably what they were supposed to with Vladar, and it just so happens that he's having a really good season, and it's somewhere else.
Okay. Ryan, we'll go back to you. This is kind of maybe a triple header sort of thing. Dallas Stars goalie situation. It's kind of all over the place, and that's not even including Ben Bishop, who is supposed to come back at some point. We don't really know when, but he's supposed to come back at some point. Jake Ottinger has been unbelievable, but Braden Holtby has been named the starting goalie until further notice, and Anton Hudobin is a healthy scratch. So do we think the Stars are handling this correctly, on or offsides here, Ryan?
It reminds me a lot of the Hurricane situation last year, and how they had just that three-headed monster, and you wanted all three guys to play, but you can only have two in the lineup on any given night. I think Holtby has earned the right to start totally. I mean, did you see the saves that he was making last night? Like,
he was very good last night.
Yeah. They're also playing a lot better as of late. So right now, anything that they're doing is the right decision so far. As the year goes on, we'll see. I don't know if all three can play at a super high level throughout the entire year, but I don't know. I'd be interested to see if it does happen, because then we have the same situation as Carolina last year, where who do you pick going, like, in a playoff game? Who do you trust most to win that game that night?
Andrew, why not go with Jake Ottinger? Doesn't it feel like they don't really trust him?
You know who leads the league in goals saved above expected per 60 minutes?
Is it Jake Ottinger? Because his numbers are filthy right now.
It's Jake Ottinger. And I guess what your point is, Trey, I mean, he had better numbers than Anton Hudobin last year, and I was kind of surprised when they signed Holtby in the offseason, because that meant Ottinger was going to go down to the AHL because he was waiver exempt. After he played pretty good, I believe he was a former first-round pick. He's been billed as their goalie of the future for a long time. I don't really understand why Rick Bowness is having a hard time putting his faith in him, unless Rick Bowness just hates young players, as that whole Riley Tufts healthy scratch thing from a couple of weeks ago may or may not have proved. But I definitely think that they should look into phasing Ottinger into a bigger role as long as Bishop is out. I know Holtby has been good for them this year. I know he's bouncing back, but at some point Ottinger's the goalie of your future, and at some point the future has to become the present.
Gavin, do you think Hudobin trade piece? Maybe he's an Avalanche.
I don't think Avalanche, but we talked about Ottinger a couple of weeks ago.
So
yeah,
we talked about Ottinger a couple of weeks ago, and I said that I'll believe it when I see it, and he's starting to show it.
He's been great. They just don't put him in the net.
He wasn't great in the AHL, but then he's come up to the NHL, and I mean his last three starts: .970, .955, .972 save percentages. I mean that's pretty fucking good. Same thing as what Andrew said. I was very surprised when Dallas went out in the offseason and got Holtby, considering they had Bishop, who I knew was going to be out, but still, you had Bishop, Kudobin, and then you had Ottinger, who everyone spoke about as being the next starter in Dallas, and it just never happened for him. I want to see him get a run now. I want to see him get a run of games. I want to see him be your bona fide starter, and then Holtby be your backup. But that's what I want to see. I don't think it'll happen, but that's what I'd like to see. That way, you're going to get a real feel for, okay, what is he? Is he a bona fide starter, or is he a backup at best?
I will say that I'll kind of walk back what I said a little bit earlier. There's nothing wrong with easing a young player into a bigger role. You don't have to make him the full-time starter right away or anything crazy like that. I think as long as Holtby is playing well, I think it's fine to not make Ottinger your full name, like a Connor Hellebuyck type goalie where he's going to start 80% of the games or something like that. I think it's fine to phase him into a bigger role, but I just want to make sure that the Stars see that, because I feel like his play last year would have justified phasing him into a bigger role, and the Stars didn't the AHL to start the season. So
I'm also going to say that I don't know about you guys, but I was never a fan of the contract that the Stars gave Hudobin, pretty much based off of one playoff run in the bubble. So I think it would probably be best for them to move on from him, and whether that's in Colorado or somewhere else, we'll
The
see.
biggest concern for me with that Khudobin contract was his age, just because, he's one of the older goaltenders in the league now. But, I mean, you look at his numbers, the 2 regular seasons before that, in 41 games in 2018-19, 923 save percentage. In 2019-20, 30 games, 930 save percentage. I certainly think he earned that extension. And then you factor in 25 playoff games in 2019-20, 917 save percentage, and he takes the start to the final. So I certainly think he earned that contract. This might kind of just be the aging curve, unfortunately, hitting Khudobin at the wrong time.
Andrew, we'll start with you here. Evander Kane placed on waivers. He is officially actually reported to the AHL. He claims there is no rift between him and the Sharks. On or off sides here.
In other news, I claim I'm going to get an A in all of my finals.
You probably will.
We'll see. I'm not the biggest math guy, and I've got to do microeconomics, so we'll see how that goes.
That's...
On or off side.
Hey, I was an econ major once upon a time.
In terms of on and off side, in terms of him not being a rift, or in terms of him making his way back, or what's the question?
I don't know.
Just Evander Kane in general. I mean, Evander Kane in general, I feel like is offsides, but I mean, with everything that's happened around him in the last couple months, and the fixing games allegations, the fake COVID passport, which is just the dumbest idea.
He is vaccinated now, apparently.
Oh, that's nice to hear.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say. I mean, he's obviously a talented player. I mean, he led the Sharks in goals and points last year. But I mean, The fact that the Sharks, who are a team that could use some more offense right now, are refusing to even consider bringing him back, I think speaks a lot as to the concerns with him and the definite rift that exists. It's going to take at least retained salary to get him somewhere else. Maybe, probably sweeteners, almost certainly sweeteners, if we're being honest. So I wonder if the Sharks will be considering calling him up if he plays well, just to try to showcase him to potential trade partners. Say like, hey, look, Evander's back. He's still a productive player, all this good stuff. He can still perform in the NHL. But I mean, it's a long way to go from here.
Yeah, I guess the rumor on the street is the Sharks are willing to retain 50% of the salary, which would obviously help in moving him. And
they can trade him to another team like Arizona, and they could eat 50% more.
Yes. And apparently his agent is trying to get him to Vancouver if possible because he is from there. Not sure why he would want to go to Vancouver, but Gavin, do you have any thoughts on that situation?
So for me, Evander Kane's one of them guys where if it was closer to the trade deadline, you would say someone overpays him. Someone panics. But normally that's the Sharks, and he's with the Sharks. So,
That was funny.
It's kind of a toss-up, really. Evander Kane, everything we said about Tony DeAngelo can be said about Evander Kane. On the ice, he definitely brings something to your team. There's no doubt about it. Off the ice, he's lost. The less said about him, the better. He's not all there. I actually think something like what Andrew said might actually happen with the Sharks retaining 50% and then someone who has salary cap to burn retains another 50% just to get them somewhere. Now, we talked about teams panicking. Vancouver might be in a situation now where they start panicking because they have not been good this season.
I think they're already in that situation.
Mm-hmm. They've not been good. So that may be a possibility. And you can do dumb shit, but as Tony DeAngelo proves, you'll get second chances.
If Tim then even proposes that trade to Francesco Aquilini, he should be fired on the spot.
Speaking of Vancouver, we could add this as a topic.
That would be the biggest. That would be the most clear-cut definition of a save my job decision, save trade or transaction or whatever ever.
Ryan, we'll kick this over to you. There was a report that the Minnesota Wild are aggressively pursuing JT Miller, and Bo Horvat is also drawing some trade interest. Do we think Vancouver could go into sell mode here?
Absolutely. Have you seen their record? They're 7-14-2. They suck, and this is right after they extended Hughes and Pedersen. So like they're already in cap hell. They were gonna be in more cap hell with those contracts being done. letting Holtby go looks like the worst decision they've ever made.
Hey, at least they traded for Oliver Ekman-Larsson, so things are going really well.
I would disagree with the Holtby thing because, I mean, their goaltending isn't the issue. Demko and Halak have been fine.
They just can't score. Like, they just...
Or defend.
I don't know.
Pedersen has not been putting the puck in the net.
Yeah, Pedersen looks like a shell of himself this season.
Yeah.
It would be in their best interest to start selling, I think, this right now. And, hey, maybe in a couple of years, Quinn Hughes is a devil, and he can join Luke and Jack. So.
Real quick, do we have a prediction for Evander Kane where he's getting traded? Maybe real quick, each person.
Well, now you said Vancouver, I'm kind of thinking that.
Well, I guess his agent, he's from Vancouver, so he wouldn't mind going there.
I mean, it kind of makes sense if he's from there and he wants to move closer to home. But I don't think he fixes any of Vancouver's problems.
No.
I'm having trouble deciding on or guessing because that contract is awful for someone who's playing or going to be playing in the AHL. So if he goes to a contender, I don't even know what contender that would be. My best guess would be I don't even know, someone like Washington. Like that would be like the most like I honestly have no clue. Washington would be like a dark horse contender piece where he might actually like make a difference.
Andrew, we have a guess here. Maybe, hey, he's got some gambling issues. Vegas seems right.
The first team that popped into my mind upon thinking about, all right, what does Evander Kane do well? He's a physical player. He can put the puck in the back of the net. What's a team that spent their entire offseason dead set on acquiring physicality and is off to a great start this year and
Rangers
has an impatient ownership group? That's right, the New York Rangers. And they have plenty of cap space to boot. They don't have anyone on LTIR. They just Andy Blade to a torn ACL. I personally, I don't think the Rangers should trade for him. I don't know if they will either. I would highly doubt it. And again, it's going to take heavy sweeteners if you're going to make a trade like that. But the Rangers are just, if you come to me from the future and say Evander Kane's been traded, where's it been to? That's my first guess right
now. Any shot at Tampa Bay? They Kucherov again?
They're not going. Kucherov's going to come back too early.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was also thinking Tampa for a second, but with Kucherov coming back, they won't be able to.
All right, last one, Edmonton.
Edmonton? I don't know if they have the cap space.
Just trade away Zach Kassian.
One, I don't know if they have the cap space, but two, do you want to do anything that's going to mess up what you've got there?
The Edmonton Oilers are currently $7 million over the cap.
Okay. That's because Darnell Nurse is on the injured list,
right? He is not. Mike Smith is.
Okay, there's that.
Josh or Barcheval and Stalock have been there. I don't think they can make it money work there.
What about Kassian?
I mean, that could be a potential contract you flip going back the other way. That would open up. I wouldn't even open up. I mean, if there's retained salary at that point, then yeah, that would open up the space. But I mean, maybe I'll put a maybe on there. Kassian actually has 9 points in 16 games this year, which is more than he had in 27 last year. So good for him.
All right, last topic. I added this late because we didn't go super long. I think I owe Tristan Jarry an apology, or at least so far I do. This man has been on fire.
It's almost overreacted to 6 random games in May.
This man is on fire, and not only is he on fire, he starts every night. The Penguins refused to start Casey DeSmith. Tristan Jarry, 185 goals against and 938 save percentage. And again, this man is in net every single night. Tristan Jarry, will I owe him an apology by the end of the year? Gavin.
I think more than you is going to owe him an apology. I seem to remember some other people on this show constantly berating him, not on this show, but in Vendetta. Constantly berating him, and now all of a sudden he's come good, and I've heard absolutely nothing.
Is it a certain Pittsburgh sports fan that you're referring to?
Possibly. I don't want to get too much into it. I've always thought Tristan Jarry's a decent goaltender, if not fantastic. And I think his numbers and how he's performing this year is definitely proving that he's got a little bit more to him. Now, everything changes come playoffs. You can be fantastic, make it to the playoffs, and completely shit the bed. You can be as bad as Kempfer is and get to the playoffs and be fantastic, and that's all people are going to remember. Jarry has to do it in the playoffs. If Pittsburgh get there, he has to do it in the playoffs.
Ryan, you a Jarry believer?
I am now. I wasn't going into the season, but I was one of the people that thought that this was the year that the Penguins finally fall off the map. Crosby
I won't
started off
believe
the
it
year
until
on
I
IR.
see it. I'm just saying that now.
Yeah, I know. Well, same now, but Malkin and Crosby were out to start, and Gensel was off to a slow start. It seemed like they had no one that could score, but credit to Jarry, he stepped up big time, and he's playing incredible right now. He went toe to toe with Markstrom the other night, so I think that he's deserved all the praise this season. He's been awesome.
Andrew, would you like to tell me how wrong I was?
Since the start of the 2019-20 season, among goaltenders with at least 50 games played, Tristan Jarry is tied for sixth with a .920 save percentage. He is also seventh in the entire NHL this year in goals saved above expected per 60 minutes. And if you just want to go by total goals saved above expected, then he ranks fourth.
You sure you wouldn't rather have Matt Murray?
I'll take Matt Murray in Colorado right now if you can give me a decent deal.
No, not
I'll
at
be
that
honest
cap
with
hit.
you.
No, you won't.
Not the cap hit. I don't want the cap hit. You gotta like do something there. But if you're trying to say, hey, minimum contract, Matt Murray, I'm
the problem is it's Ottawa who refuses to retain money.
I can't blame them.
So, Gavin, who do you want? You want Fleury? Do you want Jonathan Quick? You want Varlamov if the Islanders keep sucking? Who do you want?
I wouldn't mind Varley coming back, but you got to think of how would you make it work?
Oh, the homecoming.
I would. Yes, I would.
The incredibly
I was
less
disappointed when
unlikely
they left
homecoming,
early,
but the homecoming.
I was disappointed when they left early though. Like I think he's a decent goaltender. He's better than fucking Kemper is right now, and that's for damn sure.
All right, let's do one more segment of Ryan versus Andrew debating Blackwood versus Hart. Can we do that?
Dun, dun, dun.
Sure.
All right, so I'll give Ryan. I'll give you 45 seconds to make your case for Mackenzie Blackwood. I'm gonna start the timer. All right, go ahead.
Well, unlike Mackenzie Blackwood didn't have the shitty year that Carter Hart had last year. That's the argument.
Okay, but this argument started way before last year.
But last year was.
Truthers were out way before last year.
I think Hart is going to be the better goalie in the long run.
You can't say that.
No, I can, because I don't know. Hart was always the golden boy out of the draft. So I think he's going to end up living up to his expectations. That last season was horrific. He's playing much better this season now. And Blackwood has never played bad. It's just he's been on a bad team. That's pretty much.
Yeah, no, Blackwood. I'm not saying Blackwood's a bad goalie. He's a good goalie. I just don't think
he took a while to get vaccinated.
But now he is.
That's got nothing to do with hockey, though.
Yeah, ask Tyler Bertuzzi. He's pretty good.
Except in Canada.
Andrew, Ryan kind of conceded, but would you like to make your case for Carter Hart?
I mean, Carter Hart's won at every level he's been at. And yes, he was brutal, absolutely brutal last season. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. However, if you look at the other 3 seasons where he's been in the NHL, I mean, granted, he's only played a couple of games this year, and there's only a half season in 18-19. But the other basically 1.8 seasons in aggregate compared to the short year, he's been sensational. And you look at him play this year, it's not just that his numbers are great. He looks like a different goaltender than last year. He's back to that technically sound, very poised in net, the Carter Hart that Flyers fans fell in love with in 2019 or so, when it looked like he was going to be the goalie of the future. And I still think he is the goalie of the future. I mean, of course, Carter Hart and Martin Jones are basically the one thing that's gone right for the Flyers this season. And I think he's doing everything he can to prove that last year was a fluke, at least personally for him.
Will he make the Olympic team for Canada?
I mean, I believe I wanted to. I don't remember if it was Elliot Freeman who said it. Somebody said that they thought that like if the Olympics started now, Carter Hart would be playing for Canada. I don't remember if it was Freeman or not. I certainly won't put a word in Elliot Freeman's mouth. I mean, I think he's definitely got a good shot to be at least the third goalie right now. I mean, what you have? Fleury might go. Bennington might go. Who's the other big name I'm forgetting in Canada?
Price is not playing though.
Price. Yeah, I mean, we don't know exactly what Price's status is. I mean, he hasn't played yet. He's coming off the players, whatever. I can't remember. Like come off
paternity leave.
No, it's not paternity leave. Not paternity leave. Since he came off leave,
I thought that's what
for his mental health stuff, his mental health issues. So I mean, we don't know exactly what his status is going to be yet. I would imagine that Price is a lock to go if he is, back to playing games, if he's good to go, physically, mentally, and all that stuff. But I mean, the way Carter Hart's playing right now, he's certainly putting himself on the map.
Gavin, real quick, and then we can end the show. I thought Kemper was starting tonight, and Johansson's in net.
He's not.
So
Kemper's got because I've got the game on my phone. I've got you guys here, and I've got my NHL app open as well. Apparently Kemper's out with an upper body injury, so.
Oh, here we go.
I know, right? But the NHL stats, the Game Center is saying Justus Annunen is their backup. I don't think he is, because I'm trying to get a good picture of the bench, and I don't see him there.
I saw that it was Kemper announced in net, and then I looked at my phone. It was Johansson, so I just wanted to know what's going on.
And if Kemper went out with a upper body injury, like. They traveled to Toronto yesterday. I don't see how Annunen could get there.
Well, they're already losing.
They're already losing 1-0.
Ryan, I know you had something to add, and then I cut you off.
Oh, I was going to say that regarding the Canadian Olympic team, that it was pretty much going into the year. It was pretty much going to be between Blackwood and Hart for that third spot. I think, and whoever played better to start the year was going to get that nod as at least the third goalie. So I think Hart deserves it at the moment.
All right, that's the hockey show for this week.
It could be Price, Bennington, and Fleury. I feel like that's what could also be. I mean, Fleury is struggling to start the year, but I feel like that's also a legitimate possibility too. I don't think either Hart or Blackwood are guaranteed a spot in the Olympic team.
All right, that's the hockey show for this week. Make sure to follow G__Daily. I forget Andrew's Twitter. Back of the net.
That one too. I can do that one as well. @_Andrew McGee or @back of the net.
I don't know Ryan's Twitter either.
Just @Ryan Schwager. Very simple.
Got it. Myself, Trey Daubert. Make sure to hit the subscribe button on YouTube. You can watch the show 24 hours after the fact. We are currently live on Twitch, but thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next week.